Hi and welcome to the We Need Roads podcast. And David, be careful around that Griff character. He's got a few short circuits in his bionic implants. David, do you have any implants?
Wait, no. There's a mite on my keyboard. Sorry, get the fuck off of here. Oh no, my keyboard's got mites, Neil. Son of a
In that
bitch.
case, you need to burn the house
I
down and
know.
move, because that's
Wait,
the only
no,
way you get rid of them.
it's not a mite. It's a tiny little spider.
Oh, well, that's better, I guess, because they eat
better?
flies.
Sorry, what have I got any robotic implants?
Yeah.
Do I? I don't think. No, I don't. I had to think about it though.
There was a whole Mitegate incident that kind of derailed the intro there. But yeah, that's fine. That's fine, David. You do you.
It's still wandering around. Fuck off. Okay, I got rid of it. It's on the floor now. It'll breed and survive.
And then come for you. Come for you in the night, David. It will come for you. In this episode, we are going to be talking about my aborted attempt to see Jaws in 3D, reviewing our first video game on the pod in Sam Barlow's Immortality, and I'll be reviewing my secret screening experience of Hannah Burgholm's Hatching. And in our spoiler section, we're going to be catching up with She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, and finally delving into what I think was one of your most anticipated shows of the year, David.
Yep. That second, number 2, House of the Dragon.
It was number 2.
1. Yeah.
Right.
What was your number 1? Oh wait, the Sandman. Yeah.
Sandman, yes. And that show is Amazon's The Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings prequel show that is the most expensive show known to man, orc, or elf.
Or halfling. Don't forget the halflings.
You can't see them. They hide in the grass, in the tall grass. First up is a 3D release of Jaws, technically Steven Spielberg's third film. Now, having been released before either of us was born...
Were you not born?
No, I'm not that old,
Bloody
David.
hell, mate.
This film is, I think, if I remember rightly, it's around 45 years old. And I am not 45.
What year were you born?
78, and this film was 75.
Yeah, okay, fair.
So, I mean, it's already had its 20-year anniversary by the time you were born, weren't it?
Yes. It would have. No, not quite. Not quite.
The whole point was, neither of us had actually seen this in the cinemas, right? Because it was released before we were born. Both of us. Unfortunately, it was a retrofitted 3D version. I even joked with the staff as I walked in, and I was like, do you know what? I think we'd all rather just watch it in normal 4K rather than a retrofitted 3D version. And there was a kind of nervous laughter.
Yeah, I am confused as to I have few questions. Why did the people decide that this was a thing that people wanted to see in the first place? How would it even have worked in 3D as a film? Like, what moments would have been, ooh, that's cool in 3D?
Well, I suppose the head floating past the porthole would be one. You know, any bits where the shark jumps out of the water.
Yeah, I suppose, but the shark, most of the bits where the shark jumps out of the water is not, yeah.
But, David, I'd had my Taco Bell. Yes, we are open for any Taco Bell sponsorship opportunities. Cha-ching. And I was happily in my seat, waiting to watch one of Spielberg's earliest masterpieces. Despite the 7 older ladies who had clearly not been let out for a while, who were trying to take selfies along my row, and had continuously and loudly talked throughout all the trailers and adverts, and I was hoping, well, at least they'd pipe down as soon as the film started.
Well, if they were old, you could have hoped they'd have died off before the film started.
Sadly, David, they did not. But it became quite apparent within the opening minutes that something was afoot. The mumbling in the crowd grew louder because, just like in the original film, the shark didn't work. Well, you know, the film didn't work. The screen didn't work. Yet our 3D glasses did sweet fuck all. And as I was stuck in the back, top row, right-hand corner, I was literally the furthest person away from notifying someone. Luckily, someone eventually used their initiative about 3 minutes in and went out to tell the staff. Kid ran in, looked a bit terrified when he realised it wasn't working, and quickly left again. You know when you go to the opticians, right? Have you been to the opticians recently, David?
Yeah, about a year ago, but yeah.
Right, so you know when they're trying to sort out your glasses and they put different lenses in front of the,
Yes, it's like number 1 or number 2?
Number 1 or number 2?
Yeah.
So it looked like they was doing that with the projector. So, you know, you would see it going in focus a little bit, then out of focus, and in focus, and out of focus. And then eventually, a little red light came on to the right of the screen. And guess what happens? The 3D came on.
Hey!
No!
Oh.
Because the whole thing was in 3D. Not just like an element here or there. It literally, it was like having every element of the screen being planted in your skull, and not in a good way. And of course, the old ladies to the left of me were just like, "Yay, it's working." I was like, "It's not working." Like in the 3D film, only certain elements are brought forward a little bit, aren't they?
Yeah.
With this, The whole thing, every aspect of the frame, was just like being jammed into your skull.
Is that how they left it?
No, because I got up. Because again, all the old lot in there just thought that's how it should look, and I was like,
Well,
this is still
is
not
it how
working.
it is? Yeah, but
No.
is it how
No.
they've done it?
No, it wasn't, David. It was
Okay,
still wrong.
Okay.
Because I had to jump down, because I couldn't get out over my row, so I had to jump down over the seats, quite gracefully I might add, into the row below me, welch out, went and said, yeah guys, your 3D's on, but I still don't think it's working properly, because this doesn't look right to me. So, kid comes down, manager comes down, and they both put the glass on and like, yeah, that's not right either, is it? I was like, no, thank you. And so then they turn it off again, and then the crowd starts like making noise and booing. And we're about 20, 25 minutes in at this point. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, do you know what, guys, I'm just going to call it. I've got the film at home. You're clearly, even if you was to like reset it now and start the film again, it's going to be 11:30 before I get home tonight on like a Tuesday night. And also, if you don't restart it, we've generally, you want to watch the film from the start in the way it's supposed to be presented. So I was just like, no, I'm done. So quite a few apologies.
Second time that you've walked out of a cinema during a film?
Oh yeah, the first time I walked out of a film was Valerian, the sci-fi one, and not because I really hated it or thought it was bad. It's just it was a really long week and I fell asleep 3 times during it. And when I kind of like what came to the third time after having a little doze, I realised I must have slept for about half an hour. And I was just like, yeah, I should probably leave now because I have no idea what the hell's going on. It looks all very pretty, like the film did, but I was just like, yeah, I'm lost. I'm going home. It was a Friday night. It was late, and it was after a long week at work. So yeah, I know. I just thought, you know what? That's it, man. The film's not cost me anything with my unlimited ticket, and they clearly aren't going to get it sorted anyway. And even if they did, we've already missed a quarter of the film, and if they restart it, it's going to be bloody late anyway. So my 3D Jaws review. They should have just played the normal version. Oh, and also, just to rub salt in the open wound, I belatedly found out, as I was sitting there just waiting for it to start, that a preview of Clerks 3 was being shown at the Picture House Cinema in Ashford at the same time as Jaws. So, David, I wasn't even supposed to be there today. What makes it more annoying is Clerks 3 is not on a general Cineworld release. They're showing it on like a handful of ones around London, and that's it. And, I mean, it has done very well for what they're doing in the States with Clerks 3 is they're releasing it kind of like on a tour. So it's, going city to city with only so many screens. But it's taken quite a bit for a Kevin Smith film already there. And it's getting very good reviews. So hopefully in a week or two we might actually get it. But I am keeping an eye on Ashford to see if Picture House get it back. Because that was a preview. So if they had the preview, I'm hoping they actually have the actual film as well. So yeah, not a great start to the week, David. Not a great start to the week. So Cineworld or even Picture House, expand your Clerks 3 screenings now, please, for the love of God. And relax.
You okay then, Neil?
I was an angry time, David. I'm not going to lie. I was angry. Now, in a first for our podcast, as I am going to be reviewing a video game, David. But yes, you could not pitch a game that was made for me more than this, because it is a game where you essentially play a video editor. Now, before you all drop off to sleep, let me hook you in. There's blood, sex, murder, some really quite graphic content in this game. Right, are you awake again?
Nah, you lost me. You lost me at video game.
Boobs.
I'm back.
There we go. Amazing what it takes to motivate David. So, the game is called Immortality and was created by Sam Barlow, and it's more of an interactive movie, well, 3 movies, than a traditional video game, seeing as how you have to scan through movie clips to unravel the mystery of whatever happened to fictional actress Marissa Marcel, who starred in 3 movies between 1969 and 1999, but they were never released. So, the simple interface of the game is literally just allows you to shuttle back and forth through movie clips, but there's also behind-the-scenes videos, rehearsals, and the whole point is you have to look for clues in each clip and try and unlock more clips from the movies to find out what happened to Marissa Marcel. Now, I don't want to get too much more into the mechanics of the game and reveal any of the surprises, but as you can probably guess, it definitely journeys into the psychological thriller/horror genre. I mean, in some ways, it's such a simple game, because essentially you're just looking at hundreds of short movie clips. But what makes the game work is these 3 fake movies they've made within the game are all so period perfect, featuring amazing performances by the cast and a superstar in the making performance by actress Mannion Gage. This was actually the actress's first role after she graduated uni in the States, and she's awesome, man. And I think that's what makes this game transcendent and worthy of the superlative reviews, You know, in the old days, I don't know even if this is probably even before you were around on games, but Sega, when they brought the Dreamcast out, they started having, trying to have games where there'd be full motion video in it.
Right.
And then they, they kind of said, oh no, that costs too much money, and the acting was always terrible in it, was it? Whenever you saw cutscenes with actual actors in video games, it was never good, was it?
No, yeah, I know what you're saying.
They never got it right.
Yeah.
And then they just switched to like CGI models, and they was like, yeah, that's better. I mean, is it? It's not. It all comes down to being a great game at the end of the day. But in this one, the actual performances are amazing. The films you are unraveling are superbly shot and directed, and they're so period specific. You have a 1969 religious erotic drama called Ambrosio about a priest and a nun. You have an 80s cop thriller called Minsky, and a 90s style drama called Two of Everything. And everything, honestly, everything from performance, cinematography, direction, costume design, everything is period perfect, and it's the performances that really set this apart. I mean, I'd quite happily watch all three of these films as a normal film in a cinema. And one of the great game's mechanics is that it's structured like a Moviola editing machine. So like I've mentioned, you shuttle back and forth. But it also has a match cut element. So say, for example, you pause a scene and you're looking for clues. It will then let you click on certain elements within the scene. So, for example, say you pause on a cat walking through the screen and click on a cat. It will take you to the next time the cat appears somewhere.
Right, okay. So what you're telling me is it's the cat that did it?
No, I will not tell you who did it.
Okay,
but as I mentioned, you're not just clicking through different movie clips. You get press conferences, rap parties, TV show appearances, adverts, rehearsals, location scouting clips, and that gets you so much more invested in the mystery of Marissa. And as I said about the actress's performance, Mandy Gage, it's completely warranted because she probably plays about 6 different roles in a game. She's not only acting the 3 characters within the film, she's then playing the 3 different versions of the actress Marissa at 3 very different points in her life. So, the closest comparison I can find, it's actually like She-Hulk actress Tatiana Maslany's performance in Orphan Black, playing all the different clones of herself. To finish, I would say, even if you're not a video editor, or even that much of a gamer, but consider yourself a cinephile, you will massively love this game. It's more like an elaborate video jigsaw, where as you watch clip after clip out of sequence, you begin to mentally put together the story of each film and the mystery of what happened to Marissa Marcel. This is a truly excellent game with one of the best casts and narratives I've ever played, and it's truly absorbing. For me, David, this is a 9 out of 10, and a lot of games magazines have given it a 10 out of 10. But do you know what makes this even better? If you're on Xbox Games Pass, you can play it for free.
Is it only available on Xbox?
No, David. It is available on all other formats, and guess how much it costs to buy?
£10.
Not far off that, 15 quid.
Okay, I was close. Yeah, I don't know why. Games are never £10. That was a stupid guess.
I know, but you weren't far off it. And I was like, well, and I don't get how they can charge so little for it, bearing in mind they essentially made 3 movies and just had this, really interesting mechanic to make it. But no, it's even coming to Netflix games soon, where you'll be able to play it on your TV, which seems perfect, with your remote control. Because obviously you've got your you've got your pause, play, back and forward buttons on a standard TV remote. So honestly, I can't wait to see what the creator of the game, Sam Barlow, does next, whether it's another game or, this guy's got the talent, man. He could easily make these into films or make films. So I was very, very impressed with this. I binged through it. It came out on my birthday a few weeks back, and I binged through the whole game in about 3 days.
How long did it take to finish? Like, how long is it meant to take to finish?
You can unravel the mystery in a couple of days if you just play it a lot, which I know you would, because that's your binge gamer, aren't you?
No, I only get about an hour, maybe half an hour a day to play.
Oh, well, then it should take you about, I reckon about a week or two. Oh, yeah, a week or two. What's good about it is it's not, I like the fact that you still want to find the other clips even once you've solved the mystery, because that's one of the achievements, is you have to unlock all the clips from all the movies. And I'm still doing that. I'm like a couple short. But it's so clever, man. There'll be a bit where someone's got a gun. Click on the gun. It takes you to another scene with a gun in it, maybe from a different film.
Okay.
You can click on a clapperboard and it'll take you to clapperboards. Or, you click on the person who's holding the clapperboard. It's so clever. And once you get into the mechanics of the game and you go, oh, I can click on anything here. And again, being an editor yourself as well, man, you will find it so rewarding playing the game. I just love it. I think it's one of the best games I've ever played.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Yeah, it's a good time sink for a couple of hours, and it's got a lot of sex, murder, and just a lot of sex and murder actually. But it's very good. It's definitely not something you want to watch when your parents are around or play in front of children. I will say that it's definitely adult in its content. And now, next up was my first ever Cineworld secret screening, which, if you're unfamiliar, means you get to see a new film without any idea of what you're going to see. Have you ever been to a secret screening before, David?
No, I've not. I've not. No. Although you thought this was going to be Smile, didn't you?
I'd heard rumours, yeah. Rumours were floating around the internet that it would be Smile or something of that ilk, because obviously, Halloween's next month, and everyone was just like, oh yeah, it's going to be like, there's tons of Halloween horrors coming out. But as we filed in, I remember that the last secret screening Cineworld had that I didn't make it to was Céline Sciamma's beautiful Petite Maman. Of course, it was French and a U certificate about a little girl meeting like the spirit of a grandmother as a younger girl in the woods. I still haven't actually seen the film, but it got 5-star reviews everywhere, and everyone was like, it's a masterpiece. I read about so many audience members walking out of the film within the first few minutes because, it's French. And, a U certificate? Really?
Just immediately, like, god damn it, I've got to read. I'm out.
I know. So, as we waited, I wondered what would happen if we had a foreign film tonight. As the titles rolled, so did the subtitles. And I guess the film was Scandinavian before the title Hatching appeared on the screen. And I had heard there was a horror film called Hatching coming out, but everyone said, oh yeah, you've got to see this, it's got some really great creature work in it. But I actually had no idea that the film was foreign. I thought it was like an American or an English film. But no, it is indeed from Finland. And I got to say, I think this might have been the first Finnish film I've ever seen. Well, of course, as expected, David, the second the subtitles started, we easily lost about 14 or 15 people. And honestly, man, I do not understand the mindset of going to see a film where the whole premise is you don't know what you're going to go and see, and that even if you've never heard of the film, you should have an open enough mind to sit there and watch something you'd never normally watch, right? You've made the effort to get dressed up. Well, I mean, some people hadn't. It is Dover after all. Go out for the evening, broaden your cinematic horizons and palette. You have your snacks, you have your drinks, and yet because it has subtitles, you're going to leave, go home, taking your snacks with you, and doom scroll on Netflix for the rest of the evening. Honestly, it blows my mind.
Yeah, like, imagine if that was like Parasite or something that they just missed out on because they couldn't be bothered, because they're like, immediately, it's foreign, fuck this.
Yeah, and do you know what? When you get foreign films released in this country on the big screen, like in a situation like that, generally they are the best of the best. You don't get shit foreign films released in the UK because of, the way, cinema distribution works. Same with like the Oscars. You like the best foreign film nominations each year, and every country has to pick one film that they think is representative of the best work from that country. So just to get a UK release, obviously, it's going to be a great film. You don't get shit films released from foreign countries in other countries because it has to be the best of the best. And this is, well, I'll say what I think about it in a minute. I will say fair play at least to the people who gave it 10 minutes and then decided they didn't like it and left, which was about another 6 or 7 people. If you're going to go and see a film, why would you be disappointed it's not something you want to see if there's no assurances or guarantee of what you're going to see? Like, I bet these people who left, the ones who went online and thought, it's probably going to be that. And then when it isn't, they got up and left. I just don't, you've gone out for the evening, man. At that point, surely it shouldn't even be about the film. It's like, well, I've gone out for the evening, I've bought my snacks, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to open my cinematic brain and watch something new and challenging. So, what is Hatching? Well, it's a debut film from Finnish director Hanna Bergholm, who previously had only made some short films before working on I think it was a kids' TV show called Reta ja Ronja, and she's currently working on a TV show Helsinki Crimes. So that just sounds like, NYPD Blue Helsinki. Obviously, there wouldn't be an NYP in it because it would be Helsinki. I'm not good on acronyms. Anyway, there will be some minor spoilers going forward here, as I just have to kind of tell you what the film is about. But there's nothing here that I don't think is revealed in the trailer and all the other reviews that are doing the rounds at the minute.
Spoilers? Where we're going, there are nothing but spoilers.
So, the film is about a young gymnast, Tinja, who strives to please her absolute shithead of a mother, whose character isn't even named in the film. She is just Mother, from hell, in brackets. That is. She's a former figure skater who is the worst kind of parent and social media influencer. She is continuously filming everything to try and present the world a perfect version of her family when it's anything but. After an early incident where a bird flies into the house and Tinja carefully traps it and calms it, Mother then breaks its neck and makes Tinja throw it in the trash. Obviously quite upsetting for a young girl. Later, in the woods, Tinja finds an egg and feeling guilt, she takes it home and tries to incubate it, till indeed, David, something hatches from the egg. And a creature emerges that she names Ali, that she grows to care for, though when anything or anyone threatens Tinja, the creature acts to protect her as it views Tinja as its mother. Now, I'm not going to get much more into the plot spoilers and progression as the film goes, but I absolutely love this film, man. I think alongside Ty West X, this is one of the best horror films I've seen this year, and arguably for me, this felt like what we'd get if David Cronenberg had directed E.T.
Sorry, if Cronenberg directed E.T.
I mean, I thought that when I watched it, and I've seen other reviews say
that's
that.
Enough, that's enough to sell it for me right there.
Honestly, if they'd put that on the poster, man, I think it would have done better. I mean, it's done quite well, just like I said, getting released. But yeah, it's shocking body horror, but there's an unbreakable bond between the girl and the creature that becomes more symbiotic as the film progresses. And I apologise for my Finnish pronunciation, but there are a lot of I's in these people's names. Young Siri Solalina plays Tinja, and she is absolutely superb. Because you think she's got now the physicality of being, like, a gymnast, while also kind of dealing with her mother's lies up to a point. And she gives such a good performance, man, taking into account the actress is only 13 now. So when this film was made, she was only probably 11 or 12 when the journey of the film started. And I think it's a credit to the film's casting and director that they found they found such a great young actress, and two, got such a good performance from her. I have to laugh at Tinja's father and brother, who they're just so in the background of the film. The younger brother looks like her dad's mini-me, right down to the same glasses and standing the same way. And her dad's such an ineffectual, weak man who would rather retreat to his guitar room, actually that doesn't sound so bad, than engage with his family or wife in any meaningful way. In a nice little touch to show his utter crapness and how kind of ineffectual he is as a person. He's even wearing headphones when he's playing in his own room to try and keep the noise down. Sophia Haikila gives a superb performance as mother. She is just the absolute worst, David. She's horrible. And she is so set on portraying a certain perfect image of her family life that I don't even think she's aware that their lives are far from perfect.
I don't get that. I've never understood that. That social, like, people being like, oh my god, look at me. Look at how amazing my life is. Look at these. Look at what I am. I am in... I don't know what accent this turned out to be. I'm going to stop it. Just being like, look at where I am. Look at this. This. Look how happy everyone is at my house. Look how big my house is. It's turned into something again.
And yet the thing is with those type of people, I think you get two camps, right? You get the people who put that persona on just for the videos, and it's a job for them. They're doing it to like rack up followers. They're doing it to rack up sponsorships and free shit. That's fine. It's to a point. I mean, it's still I'm older, I don't get the whole idea of it as much.
Don't get me wrong, we have an Instagram account for Cheddar. Okay, Cheddar's the most popular man in the household. He has fans. But like it's not all, oh my god, look, Cheddar's amazing, look at him, he's doing all of this stuff. It's like, yep, Cheddar pooped in the house. Or like he's barking at humans again. Cheddar
bit you on the penis.
Like that, pretending that your life's perfect just to make it seem like it's perfect. I've never understood it. It's just so fake. I can't deal with it. People being fake.
Oh, well, you'll hate her character then, man, in the film, Mother. But again, I think her character, because I said there's two types of people, and we just discussed the one, but I think she's literally the type of person who honestly believes everything she's doing, and she's trying so hard to keep that image of perfectness in her family. And it's like they have a new next door neighbour moves in, who's a daughter who's her Tinja's age, and of course they meet at gymnastics, and she's clearly better than her straight away. And Tinja doesn't really care. They become friends, and the mum immediately is giving her shit, like that's your rival. You should take her out and all this kind of stuff. But the creature work is superb. You have like the nascent young creature through its growth onto an amazing animatronic puppet before it gets to its final form. And indeed, as the film progresses, it's a combination of actor performance, because Solia Linia plays both Tinja and the creature as it grows, with some added SFX work. And I was doing a bit of research, and the special effects on the creature work was done by Oscar-nominated British effects artist Connor O'Sullivan. And guess what one of his most famous pieces of work was?
From creature work.
Well, let's say prosthetics and makeup looks. It was Oscar nominated though.
I don't know. Tell me.
Just like Heath Ledger's look in The Joker for The Dark Knight.
Oh, okay. Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that at all.
No, exactly.
I would have gone I would have gone down like Pan's Labyrinth or something random like that. I wouldn't have thought that at all. Okay.
I mean, you'd be thinking in the right ballpark, but you'd be wrong. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hatching is truly a great film that combines so many different elements together, from pitch black humour to repulsive body horror, actually well done jump scares, and the humour in it is funny. Like it's not you're laughing at it, you're laughing with it because it knows exactly when to deploy these brilliant. And it's not like a film where it's not like a film where there'll be like a funny line. It's a film where there'll be a look and the look cracks you up, or there's a reaction shot and you're like, yes. It's just all melded together into a really fascinating and terrifying coming of age story that focuses on an intense bond between mother and daughter, and mother and creature, daughter and creature, and mother creature daughter. That could have been an alternate title for the film, actually, Mother Creature Daughter. Now, I was really glad I got to see Hatching at the cinema, because as I said, it was funny, dramatic, horrific, and overall a great debut film for Burkholm. And this is a film I probably never would have seen, let alone in the cinema. So, shame, shame, shame on those that walked out at the first sign of subtitles. You should have your cards revoked, that's what I'm saying. So, David, what would you do to people who leave a film when they see subtitles?
Okay, well, no, specifically for this film and specifically these people, the cinema staff should have all given them like a little chicken egg, just to look after, and to see any ramifications of that chicken egg, anything that hatches out of it, is completely on them for leaving the film early. A monster hatches out of the hatching thing, right? Out of their egg, some sort of creature hatches out of the.
Yeah, I don't want to say what the creature is.
Okay. Well, then that's what we're giving them. We're giving them an egg, and they can just be like, "Huh, what's this egg all about?"
Well, I will say, if you have seen Hatching and you know what comes out of the egg, that is a good and bad thing for these people, and I'm not sure. Also, the irony is they wouldn't have seen the film, so they wouldn't know what it is.
Exactly.
Aha! I like it. Exactly. Brilliant. Right, well, David, we are now moving on to our spoiler section.
Spoiler alert! There's spoilers everywhere!
And, David, are you still watching She-Hulk? Are you up to date on She-Hulk?
No.
Where are you on She-Hulk?
I am about 15 minutes into the 4th episode, and then stopped. I fell asleep, I'm not going to lie.
Okay, you fell asleep in the episode that introduced one of the greatest new additions to the MCU, Madison, with a Y, but it's not where you think.
I saw that bit, yeah, where she's with what that is not where you think.
Oh dear. Please don't try and do her accent as well, because
that was good. I think that was a good impression.
It wasn't. Anyway, we covered the first 2 episodes on our last pod, and as we record this, we have just had episode 5, mean, green, and straightforward into these jeans air. So let's move on to episode 3, which was The People vs. Emil Blonsky, which saw Tim Roth's Abomination on trial, with Jennifer taking the case and having it explained to a jury that he was taken to an underground fight club in Macau against his will in Shang-Chi by our favourite Sorcerer Supreme, Wong. Now, Wong agrees to take the stand as Blonsky seems rehabilitated by his time inside, despite his weird cult of female followers outside. But Wong explains he broke him out to fight him to complete his training to become Sorcerer Supreme, and even offered him sanctuary in Karmitage. But of course, Blonsky asked if he could be returned to his cell to serve his debt to society, and the court agrees to free him. So that's our A story, and our B story in this episode, which was quite funny, was that one of Jennifer's former co-workers was catfished by a shape-shifting Asgardian elf, and he believed he was dating rapper Megan Thee Stallion, and not an Asgardian elf. And again, it's all really just so we can have a post-credit sting of She-Hulk and Megan twerking in her office. But, most importantly, at the very end of the episode, we see that Jennifer is attacked on her way home by 4 men with Asgardian construction equipment who are trying to get some of her blood. But they fail. But I'm sure they're going to be back again. What do you think of episode 3, David?
The whole She-Hulk show, for me, you know what? It's not even just She-Hulk. It's the whole MCU. It really isn't doing it for me at the moment. To the point where I'm having to force myself to watch it. And like I said, I fell asleep during the 4th episode. I know it's a comedy. The show is a comedy, but there's it just doesn't vibe with me, Neil. What I want from my MCU is awesome glory moments built up through great villains and epic battles and brilliant character development through emotional bondings. And we're getting none of that in the MCU at the moment. Literally none. It's No Way From Home was the only one that had it.
Well, since then we've had Thor: Love and Thunder, which was
Awful.
it was fine.
It was
I don't
awful.
think it's awful.
You know what? It's my least favourite Thor film. Now I sit on it for longer. Yeah, I preferred Thor 2. I prefer The Dark World to this. I'm not. It is my least favourite one now.
But okay, so here's my question for you, right? In regards to that, Thor 1 and 2 are very similar in terms that it's treated seriously and people speak in Shakespearean, and it's kind of that type of film. And then Waititi looked at it and went, "Nah, that's all a bit rubbish, mate. I'm going to make it."
Ragnarok was brilliant.
And here's my point, right? So, but you're saying you don't like it being funny.
It became a parody. Thor, Love and Thunder is like somebody went and made a parody Thor film, and that's what it is. Anyway, we're not talking about Love and Thunder. We're talking about She-Hulk. But I got onto the wider MCU as a whole. Sorry, that's my bad. It hasn't made me laugh either. I'm not finding it funny. However, I do really like Abomination. I do really like the actress that's playing She-Hulk.
Tatiana Maslany.
Yes, that's thank you, Neil. Thank you very much.
Say it with me, David. Tatiana
Maslany. Because Jennifer Walters is, I think she's brilliant. Tim Roth's obviously Tim Roth. He's amazing. Wong's, again, he's becoming a parody of his character.
I don't think he is. I
don't like. They're just taking all of these characters and they're just making them parodies of themselves. Literally, it's happening throughout all of the MCU. Every single element is going way too down the comedy route and not the.
I disagree with you here, and I will use Wong as my example. So I think it depends on what film or show he's appearing in, right? So you look at Wong's performance in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That is played pretty much straight, isn't it? He is the Sorcerer Supreme. He is trying to help. There's next to no comedy, really.
Yeah, but they've turned him into a parody of himself for this.
Only in this show, but it's because he's in the world of the show.
How is that a good thing?
Well, because the show's a comedy.
It doesn't. I don't. It's it's not for me. That sort of it's inconsistency in character. You can't just flip a switch and have somebody all of a sudden be a comedian. And them just be jokes and just be lighthearted, there's no real stakes to what I'm doing. What was the thought process behind him getting Abomination out in the first place?
So he could fight him and beat him to prove that he's Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, but does he not have
training?
How many other people did he have access to that he could have used? Why Abomination?
Well, he wanted to fight Abomination and beat Abomination.
But there was literally
he wanted to.
Every other. Yeah, but that's not. Where's the reasoning behind that? What's the thought process behind that? There isn't any, and we're not given any. It's literally just that's what annoys me with it at the moment. It's sort of just stuff happening for the sake of it happening, and there's no real no one really questions anything.
I think the nail on the head with your problem, especially with She-Hulk, is, and like you've mentioned this before, is that you need everything to be pulling in a direction where you can clearly see where the story's going to be going and where it's building up on stuff. And She-Hulk is very slight in that.
It's not necessarily just that. What I'd like is just a decent show that makes sense as well.
It doesn't
have to be. Yeah, but why that if it's specifically episode 3?
Yeah.
Why is the big question I have there? Just why?
What in general? But we're given a reason. Wong said he took him
That's
out.
such a stupid reason.
But it is the reason. You're saying there isn't a reason. There is a reason. If there wasn't a reason, then you could say, well, there's no reason. It's stupid. Just because you don't like the reason given doesn't mean it's not a reason.
There's no logic behind the reason. It's literally just like the writers being like, we want to bring an Abomination into this. Oh, wait, we've used him in this film. How are we going to link the two? Okay, we'll do it this way. Bam, done.
Well, it's the writers going, right, we need a case of the week. This week it's going to be Emil Blonsky, and that ties in nicely to Hulk and that, and they mention it. There's even that scene where she's on the phone to Bruce, isn't there? And he's like, "Oh, I was a completely different guy back then, literally." So that was a great line. I thought,
that was decent, yeah, with Mark Ruffalo, yeah.
And also, is that the episode where he's in a spaceship? Where is he going in the spaceship? I think they are going to do World War Hulk, man. I reckon he's on his way back to Sakaar, because it was a Sakarian cruiser that attacked them in the first episode. So, but no, like I say, at the end of episode 3, you got the bit where she's attacked by 3 people with Asgardian equipment who were trying to get her blood, because obviously they know that Hulk blood can give you Hulk powers. So I'm sure that's going to come back again. In fact, some of the speculation is that is going to lead to the return of Tim Blake Nelson's character from the Incredible Hulk film with Abomination in it. And I reckon he's going to be playing the leader, which is a villain from that, because he was just in human form in the Incredible Hulk, I think, because I struggle to remember him in it, if I'm honest. I will say, David, episode 4 I thought was the best one of the season. And it's pure comedy, and I love it for that. It felt to me like an old Buffy episode in all the best ways. Episode 4 is titled, Is This Not Real Magic? Where a former Kamatard student called Donnie Blaze, who was kicked out, is going and doing real magic, but, badly, and sending people from the audience into different dimensions. And he gets sued by Wong for basically making magic he uses out to be bad. And, of course, Jennifer She-Hulk takes the case, saying, no, people like Blaze cannot use the mystic arts. And, of course, this leads to the introduction of Patty Guggenheim's amazing Madison, with a Y, but it's not what you think. I'm sorry, but Madison is a genius comic creation. She is a party girl who gets zapped into a different reality by Blaze, and I quote, "Oh yeah, I had to make a pact with a demon that I cannot discuss. Otherwise, he said he would reap my soul and all the souls of all I love. And also, I gave some of my blood to a demon, and one dimension was scary, but then it was cool, but then it was spooky." Her performance as a ditzy party girl is pitch perfect, man. But do you know what? Who she reminded me of? She reminded me of Zoe Deutsch's performance in Zombieland 2. So when I went to look at Zombieland 2, I was like, do you know what her character is called, David?
In Zombieland 2?
She's also called Madison. She's the new girl they bring into it when he has an argument with his Emma Stone at the start, and she storms off, and then they find this valley girl played by Zoe Dutch who's living in a freezer somewhere.
Yes. I remember.
It's the same character, man, and she's even got the same name. But obviously, more people have clearly watched She-Hulk than they have Zombieland 2. But honestly, mate, from her calling Wong Wongers to just throughout the episode, and again, I don't know how far you've seen. Have you ever watched The Sopranos? No, you haven't watched The Sopranos. So this episode, I will warn you, has major spoilers for The Sopranos that has actually pissed people off who haven't watched The Sopranos. To be fair, the show is 25 years old at this point. So, you should have probably got
I
around to
did
watching
get to that point where they spoiled The Sopranos, because Wong's watching The Sopranos.
But she does it twice.
Netflix.
He's just sitting there. I love it. But that's what I like. It humanises Wong. He's a serious Sorcerer Supreme in the film, but here you get a bit of comedy and a bit of character development. So I love that, also it's the end of Shang-Chi when he's out doing karaoke with Shang-Chi and Ali Wong's character. And in this one, I just love that when he rescues this stupid woman, they become friends, kind of, and they're just sitting there hanging out watching The Sopranos together. And it's just brilliant. And then she walks in, it's like, Wongers! There's that bit in the court when she goes, if you tell the police you were texting 999, they can't arrest you. Every line she delivers is note perfect, man. It's just, I honestly, she's got her own character poster already, and people are all like, we don't want a spin-off series, but we just want, Marvel used to do the one-shots, the little short 10-minute films that they would throw on the ends of DVDs as extras. Everyone's can we just have a 10-minute Madison in the Hell Dimension bartering her way out of it? Would be brilliant. For me, she's a season highlight. I think we're definitely going to see more of her. But in this episode, we also have the sad story of Jen's dating life, where it's ironic. I suppose it's because that's part of the casting, right, of Tatiana Maslany. I mean, obviously, she is a beautiful woman, but they make her look quite plain and very short when she's Jennifer Waters, compared to when she has her flowing hair and bulked out She-Hulk look. And you see her having not even getting dates and when she's trying to go out as Jen. So then her friend Nikki's like, well, you should make a She-Hulk profile. And then things kind of go well from there. And of course, she's in the middle of a date when Wong appears, and then they have to go and fight some evil demonic bats before winning the case. The episode ends, though, with news that the superpowered social media influencer Titania, played by Jamelia Jamil, has been freed from prison and has trademarked Chen's name She-Hulk for herself to promote a line of products. Brilliant. As you haven't seen episode 5 yet, I won't go into too many spoilers, but then again, like I say, I don't think you're really loving it that much. So I'll just go over the basics. And episode 5 is her having a court case against Titania, trying to get her name back. And the episode's kind of to show that she's actually come to embrace the name She-Hulk now. And she actually uses her dating profile and the lineup of terrible dates that she had, and as evidence in court that she is She-Hulk. The B story in this was really good as well, because it involves her best friend Nikki and other guy at the thing, token guy in the show, Josh. And it involves the two of them trying to track down an elusive superhero suit maker for Jen. And these two are really fun together, and we definitely need to see more of Nikki for sure in that. But David, we do get a tease at the end of this episode for Daredevil, because we all know he's coming, and we saw it in the trailer for the show, and we do get a brief glimpse of Daredevil's helmet. His superhero helmet, just to clarify.
Well, in a show like this where they're making parodies out of everyone, maybe having his dick on show wouldn't be so bad.
Well, I mean, it's not that type of show, David. But, I mean, I bet now the way you feel about this, I bet you are spectacularly worried about how they're going to portray Daredevil, right?
I am, yeah.
Well, that's your problem, not mine. So, for me, right, as we're like, I think there's 8 episodes of She-Hulk, 8 or 10, I forget. I like how it's lighter in tone, and it doesn't have any real established major villains as such. And for me, I like that it's a show of the week format. Marvel have looked back at like the classic lawyer shows, and there's a different case she has to do each week. But at the same time, it's extending her circle of friends and character development on them. And Wong and Madison are always welcome now. And yes, some of the messaging about being a woman in a modern world can be seen as a bit heavy-handed, but the fact that the show had enough foresight to know how much it would annoy the trolls, that they actually directly address abusive tweets towards She-Hulk in one episode, is just great planning by the show, and also sadly a reflection on that toxic element in society who apparently can't deal with seeing strong, well-written women on the screen. As you mentioned yourself, even though you're not a fan of the MCU as much at the minute, or this show in its tone, even you admit that Tatiana Maslany has been superb, as expected in the show. And do you know what? I've enjoyed this, man. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 at this point, at mid-season. My mid-season mark is a 7. And that's only because, and this is factors into your point, there are no larger stakes yet. Although, we've seen Bruce headed off in a spaceship somewhere, which I'm sure is going to tie into a film. But I just think the length of the episodes and the case of the week structure works perfectly for a legal comedy, which this show is. I think this makes my top 5 list of Marvel shows, alongside WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye, and Miss Marvel.
There's not many, though, Marvel shows at the moment to really, add it to. How many are there in total? Have you watched 7?
Yeah. Have you watched Miss Marvel?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
From start to finish?
I've watched it.
That didn't answer my question.
To what?
Have you watched all of it from start to finish?
No. This is the thing. I keep getting through like X amount of episodes, and then I'm just stopped for like whatever reason. None of them are gripping me to the point where they should be. I'm like 5 episodes into Miss Marvel, I think.
And there's only like 6 or 8 in that.
Yeah, so. I'm not even sure how many I've got left. It's not many.
No, just finish it, man. So would you prefer Miss Marvel or She-Hulk?
Probably Miss Marvel.
So moving on from She-Hulk, which I can't wait to come back to you with in a couple of pods' time, David, when we get to the season finale and see if you revised or
am I going to
downgrade.
even get there? That's the worry, Neil. Am I even going to get there?
If not, I'm going to send Donny Blaze round and send you to a hell dimension with demonic bats.
I'd much rather have Madison with a Y come round.
Yeah, I know you would. That's why I didn't say that. That's why you get sent to the hell dimension. Anyway, I think that about wraps us up on She-Hulk. And now, David. Now a show I'm fairly certain you're going to like. I'm pretty sure you're going to be quite effusive about this. I have a feeling. I'm
in a bad mood, Neil. Okay?
Yeah, well,
and
this
we're
should
go
put
into
you in
this.
a good mood.
You think so, do you? Okay. Well.
I'm fairly certain that the light, airy tone of She-Hulk clearly wasn't to your liking. So we're going to go from some largely dramatic, epic super fantasy, and it is the most expensive TV show of all time. It's here, David, and it is Amazon's The Rings of Power. And we are here to see if it lives up to the hype or even exceeds the hype. What I will say is that pretenders like Wheel of Time and The Witcher can take a back seat in the fantasy stakes now, because we've got both new Lord of the Rings content and new Game of Thrones content airing each week for at least another 4 or 5 weeks. And as we record this, we are actually up to 4 episodes on each. So David, you've read all the books, right? You're bit more of a Tolkien book fan.
So no.
Are you not? No.
No, you're bringing this up. No, so I've read The Lord of the
Right.
Rings. I've not
Yeah,
read
okay.
The Silmarillion, and I've not read Lords of Huron, I think it's called, and I've not read the Unfinished Tales.
Well, that's because it's not finished.
I've read The Hobbit, obviously. The Silmarillion I've not read, and Unfinished Tales.
Just tell me and the listeners, when does the Rings of Power take place, and how does it tie into the original trilogy?
Well, Neil, The Rings of Power takes place thousands of years before the beginning of the Lord of the Rings series, where we see Frodo taking off on his grand adventure with the ring to destroy Sauron by placing the ring in Mordor, in the depths of
In Mount Doom?
Yes, I was getting to the word Mount Doom, Neil. Okay, because I forgot the name and I had to keep rambling until I remembered it. Takes those thousands of years before Frodo takes off on his adventure, and we are set just after the spies of Morgoth, who is he's essentially the big bad of Middle Earth. Before he was the great evil power that was beset, that was way before Sauron. I think in the lore of it all, he was actually a greater evil power than Sauron, which that was one of the little sad things that we didn't ever. I was hoping the Rings of Power would have Morgoth as its big bad at some point. Either we're just at the end of it, or but he was still around. But anyway, Morgoth has been defeated, and we're living in a relative time of peace in Middle Earth and throughout the lands. So we do get some elements of Morgoth and the great battle that besieged against him within Galadriel's prologue at the very beginning. And then we move into the start of the episode, where we see her setting out on an adventure with a little band of elves, essentially chasing myths and legends of Sauron, who is the successor to Morgoth's throne. And Galadriel clearly is she's rather upset, I think, Neil, would you say? Because I think I'm right in saying that Sauron killed her brother.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
And
that's all in the prologue.
And she's not a very happy bunny about it. So she's very upset, and she's a woman on a mission. And she's an elf on a mission. An elf woman.
Yeah.
What's the word for an elf woman? Is it an elf woman?
It's just an elf. She's just an elf.
Elf.
There is no gender construct in.
Okay. Well, anyway,
they're elves.
That's on a mission to find and kill the evil, and she finds it eventually in a very cold wastelands of somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where that was. Do you remember?
No. But I mean, she doesn't find. Someone else beats Morgoth, doesn't they? Before this, which is mentioned in the prologue. But what Galadriel is doing, she doesn't believe that they've eradicated all the orcs and all the bad guys. She believes Morgoth or Sauron is still around?
It's Sauron. I swear it's Sauron. She's searching for... So her brother, whose name was Finrod, I think? It was something
Finrod.
silly like Finrod, yeah. Died searching for Sauron and was killed by Sauron. And then Galadriel's basically creates a solemn vow to find and search for his killer, Sauron, who's like the heir apparent to Morgoth's throne.
Okay, we're there. We're sorted. Yeah, I mean, how good was that Ice Troll fight, man? Like that, I love the map transitions. I love the start where what I think the show did really well in the opening sort of 20 minutes or so. It showed you, even if you didn't watch the films and you're coming to this fresh, I feel that it would hook you. And you go, okay, simple story. This woman's on revenge for her brother who's dead. No one else believes in her now. Everyone else, all her own troops are like, look, we've done it. It's dead. We just want to go home. And yet she's like, no, I must fight until I have every single scrap of evidence that he ever existed is gone from the universe. Like you said, she's not a happy bunny. Yeah, her troops are like, nah, we're going to do one. See you later. And she gets elf abandoned.
Yeah, she gets elf abandoned. Yeah, well, because the High King Gil-galad proclaims that the war against Morgoth is done and dusted. Like all of Morgoth.
And she disobeys orders.
There's nothing left. She sails off into the sunset at the end of the episode.
Well, and that was a funny thing. I've got a question about this sailing off into the sunset thing, right? She gets her, reward, which is she gets to go back home to Elfland, which I forgot the name of it.
Valinor, I think.
Valinor. So Elfland, I'm calling it for simplicity's sake. So, are they actually returning home, or is it like a kind of elf mass suicide cult? Because as they've lived in Middle Earth for so long now, some of these elves, and I was just kind of looking at it like, it's like sailing off to Valhalla in like the Norse mythology. I kind of got that vibe from it. And obviously,
I don't fully understand how it works. Valinor is literally like, if you're looking at like the whole of what we know of whatever the world of Lord of the Rings is set in, I can't remember.
It's like not to the bottom left.
Yeah, well, it's not the bottom left. It's just the whole land to the left. So you've got Middle Earth to the right, and then there's a whole other land to the left, and that is Valinor.
I suppose if they both appear on the same map, then they are real places, and it's not like I posited an elf mass suicide cult.
But I don't fully understand how it, because it was like a mass. It was, and you get those vibes at the end of the Lord of the Rings as well, because I'm pretty sure that's where Frodo sails off to, Valinor at the end. And it is very much like, oh, Frodo's dying because he's sailing off with the elves to live in immortal peace. Because, like, I don't understand why you wouldn't just everyone just live there. If it's this like lovely, healthy, why are elves continuing to live in Middle Earth in the first place? If Valinor's this like place of peace and love and prosperity.
You hit the nail on the head then. The reason they're there was because the threat of Sauron still, with Galadriel leading the army still searching for him. When we meet Arondir later on and Bronwyn in the village, you see that he gets the order, right, we're retreating, we're leaving. At the start of this, they were actually all planning to leave, I guess, the elves and go back to their homeland, because they'd ventured out to stop Morgoth, which they had, and then obviously Galadriel was like, no, I still want to get Sauron. They're like, okay, cool, fine, take some troops, go and do it. But they still left elves in the lands of men, because men made the pact with Morgoth and betrayed everyone, didn't they? So, bad men. They weren't innocent men, David, they weren't.
I guess, essentially because Morgoth's shadow and now Sauron's shadow will just spread across the land. Everywhere.
They're kind of like the Night's Watch a little bit, aren't they? Understaffed and over here.
I suppose, yeah. It's you know what? There's a lot of elf culture that I need to look into more. Elves aren't my biggest. Well, just in general, because if you've got these immortal beings, like you'd think they'd just spread like bunnies, because they just reproduce and spread like bunnies, but they obviously don't. It's obviously like a massive deal for an elf to reproduce. I don't know much about elf and lore, so I need to look into my elf mythology.
Let's move on from that to the visual look of the show, man. And man, it's amazing.
It's stunning, man. It's literally like bringing cinema into your living room.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. You can immediately see the difference between the budgets on this, I think, and House of the Dragon. And as great as House of the Dragon is, you can see every inch of the money on screen here. And it's the same thing. I think you look at the castings, and they've gone with a lot of relatively unknown actors, which obviously is a lot cheaper for the show, and all the money is on the screen in the effects and the location scouting. And of course, it's New Zealand, man. You know, New Zealand pretty much looks like that without much work needing to be done to it, because I've been there and I filmed it, and it was all awesome. So, like, I was funny watching some of the mountain shots. I'm like, yep, I know exactly where that is. That's down in Milford Sound. Now let's move on to the Harfoots, who were kind of like the Hobbit's predecessors, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think that's what there's going to end up being, isn't it? They're going to settle up. They're going to, like, at the end of it all, they're probably going to be like, oh, this is the Shire. We'll call this home.
They'll settle somewhere and go, let's call this place the Shire.
I don't know. That's what I saw as well. If you see the same thing as well. They've even got people called, like, Brandyfoot. And I think Perrin was called Brandybuck. There's similarities in the names there as well. So it's not just the fact that they're small and got, fairy feet.
Small and fairy feet. And you've got, of course, they're being led by Sadok, played by Lenny Henry, who is amazingly good in this. And it's funny, because bar his sort of stand-up stuff and like British TV stuff, I've never actually seen him in anything, to be fair. So, I just like how he's got his book full of, portents of stuff to come. And Nori and Poppy, man. Do you know what they reminded me of when I was watching it? Dairy Girls. Because for some reason the Harfoots have a cod Irish accent, don't they?
Natasha made a joke about them. It was just like, so they've made the travelling people Irish. I was a bit like, I suppose they have, yes.
And the irony is, though, the main actress who plays Nori, I looked up, and just like Game of Thrones, with the young actress who plays Rhaenyra, they're both Australian. When we meet Elrond for the first time, so Elrond and Galadriel at this point are the only two characters from the original trilogy that we get to see the younger versions of in the show. And Elrond, he seems a bit smitten, I thought, with his friend. He's like, oh, Elrond, and he's like, yeah, I'm just sitting here in the woods chilling. And he's like, oh, your friend is here. My friend? And he like runs off. He says my friend a lot, man. So I thought they was hinting at potential sexy times. But I don't know. I think as the more I've watched Elrond...
Well, with Galadriel?
Yeah. I just got that vibe in the first episode. But then as the show went on, I was like, no, I think Elrond's a bit... I think he's a bit asexual, as it were. I love the map transitions between the scenes. I think that was really well done. Like, with such a massive fantasy land, it's so good. It just takes a couple of seconds. But it's beautifully done, and it shows you, okay, we're going from this realm to this realm. And it's just, it's great. And again, I think it helps the non-big Lord of the Rings fan into the show a bit more. Also, pour a glass out for Morden, David. R.I.P. Morden. Because in every fantasy show, movie, there is always a town destroyed by monsters near the start. If you live in a small town at the start of a fantasy show, there is a fair chance everyone you know is going to be killed horribly by the end of the first episode. So, R.I.P. Morden.
Wait, what? I don't remember this.
The village of Morden, where Bronwyn was from. How do you know? It's only 4 episodes ago, man.
Oh,
literally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool, yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, my bad. I'm back.
Your brain, man. You should be committed to medical science.
It's because you were talking about...
the map transitions. Then I transitioned from the map transitions.
Yeah, but
to
then you started talking about Bronwyn and Aranor's storyline before mentioning them, and that's where I got confused. Okay, so the world building within I think it's done incredibly smart again, and it's done what I wanted it to do. What I wanted. What was the show I was going on about bringing a map in? It's just a simple map to be like, here's where this is. Here's where these characters are. What was that show? And I was saying they haven't done that, and it's bloody annoying because you don't know where anything is or anyone is.
I think it was The Witcher.
Was it The Witcher? I can't remember. But just having a basic map, and thank fuck. Sorry, I hit my table. I'm passionate about these maps, Neil. That they've done it because they've added the maps in to show you where people are at whatever point in, because everyone knows what Middle Earth looks like. Okay, it's probably the most famous fantasy map of all time. However, it's not the Middle Earth that we know because it's set thousands of years beforehand. So, for instance, the whole storyline where Aranor and Bronwyn are, they're all set in Mordor at the moment, except it's not Mordor. Yeah,
it's more. Well, the village that was wiped out, which we mentioned, was called Morden.
Yeah, well, it is. It's Mordor. Their entire that area where they are, where it's just called like the Summerlands or something at the moment.
Southlands.
Southlands. Thank you. The Southlands encompasses, I think, Gondor, Mordor, and the other land whose name is now forgotten. But anyway, it's just adding that because they've got a lot of new areas to explore, and they've changed the map that everybody knows so famously. So in adding the just the map to show over where people are and having the landscapes that people recognise so famously, for instance, the mountain ranges that go around, people recognise the mountain ranges, so they recognise, oh shit, this is Mordor. And that's done so brilliantly and in encompassing where people are and the locations. And yes, I think that's done well.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it there, man. I think the map transitions and the geography of the show is so important to get across where we are in each scene, especially when you're introducing so many new characters that, even the hardcore fans probably don't know everyone who's going to be in the show when it starts. I also want to mention Bear McCreary's music, and he really channels Howard Shore's original music well, man. In fact, I have been listening while I was writing this podcast out to the 37-track Spotify playlist that is already available for the first 4 episodes of The Rings of Power. However, there's one thing I don't like, David. I found something I don't like that much, and it's the opening title sequence. It's just a bit meh. Doesn't really do much.
Yeah, I can. Do you know what? I don't know if you've noticed it, but once I tell you this, Neil, you'll never be able to unsee it. About the opening title sequence. And to anyone out there that doesn't want this ruined for them every episode that they watch, stop listening now. Come back in 5 minutes. No, not 5 minutes. Stop. 10 seconds. Give it 10 seconds. Okay, now.
Go. 1.
The word Rings of Power. The Rings of Power. The and the of are not in line with each other. They are off. They're not. The second you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's clearly a mistake. and it's such a simple thing to not get right.
Do you honestly believe that is a mistake like that? That has got to be the intentional choice.
100%.
No,
It
man,
should-
it's got to
they
be.
should- they should be in
That
line.
has to be an intentional.
No, when you see it,
The most expensive TV show of all time. No.
Trust me. When you see it, you can't unsee it, and it looks awful.
I just think, right, they should have done something involving maps. Like something with maps, like a map panning over Middle Earth. Like, I know everyone might go, oh, well, it's like Game of Thrones. Yeah, well, Lord of the Rings was around first, right? So, they can do that. The Meteor Man. Who is he? Who is the Meteor Man, David? What are your theories?
The beginning of the end of the first episode, ends with a meteorite flying across the sky, very much in, like, you know how in Game of Thrones Season 2 there was that meteor that was going across, but it took fucking forever, and it was a sign of prosperity and everything for everybody in the lands. Similar thing happens in this, except it happens very much quicker because it's, an actual meteorite that goes very quickly. Crashes down to Earth, and the Half-Foots come across him and try and help him out. But yeah, who is he? I have a theory, Neil. I have a theory he might be like a Gandalf character.
A Gandalf character or Gandalf?
I don't know. I don't want to be stupid and say, oh, this is Gandalf, because I don't again. My Lord of the Rings mythology and lore isn't very strong, so I don't know where. I know Gandalf is older than. I know Gandalf's alive in this period of time, in some capacity. So I feel like it could be Gandalf, because I know he exists in this time, but whether it is or not, but that's my theory. I think it could be Gandalf.
Is it Sauron being reborn from a meteor like a fallen angel, like Lucifer? So I think that's what's clever about it.
That's an interesting one. I also thought it could be Saruman, but
I think they're gonna tease this out until the end of the season. I think with the reveal of who the Meteor Man is. The thing for Gandalf is there's a bit where he shouts and everything kind of goes dark, because Gandalf does that, doesn't he? In Lord of the Rings a couple of times.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. There were other elements of it that I also was just like, okay, is this sorry, what's up? Oh, he's put his bandana on. Sorry, Chad has come into the room and he's got a bandana on. There's no real explanation as to why there are these 5 or 6 wizards within the Lord of the Rings films anyway. Like, the books and lore will probably explain a lot more.
I think what else the show did really well in the first couple of episodes was mixing between the different storylines. It obviously sets Galadriel up as your main character for the start. And I was like, oh man, who's these people? I can't remember names. But as the show's gone on, I've got more and more, okay, yeah, that's Arendor. That's Halbrand. The characters are starting to make their dead.
One thing I will say, on Arendor, whilst we're on him, one thing I will mention. When I was playing Dungeons and Dragons this weekend, one of the people there, he's not a friend, he's sort of just somebody that's there that I play with. He made an off comment about there being a black elf.
He's not one of those people, is he?
Apparently so. And I called him out on it, and then the conversation sort of changed very quickly. I didn't even realise that was a thing in the casting world at the moment, that people are upset with there being a black elf. Are people upset with there being a black elf? I've not seen that anywhere on Twitter or anything like that.
Oh, well, you're lucky. I haven't seen too much of it. I'm aware of it. I haven't seen it much in our Twitter followers, because most of our Twitter followers, I'd say almost all of our Twitter followers, balanced normal people who aren't racist.
With when the Snow White casting came out and the Little Mermaid casting came out, and they were both either black or Hispanic. I saw that all over it regarding Disney characters, but with elves and Lord of the Rings, seeing one, I in thinking about that a bit more, it doesn't annoy me that there's a black elf. It annoys me that there's not more black elves. He's kind of like the token black elf. That's what annoys me about it. Now that it doesn't annoy me. Annoys not the right word. Now that I think about it more, because it's been pointed out to me by someone who's being racist, that I feel like there should be more. Because at the moment, he does sort of feel like a token black elf. Like they're like, have there be more?
I'm not sure on that. No, well, I'm not too sure on that, because I think that Arendor's the main character, right? He is easily. And if you think in the original trilogy, there wasn't any black characters at all, was there? I can't remember off the top of my head. If there was, they definitely didn't make it.
Well, there definitely wasn't a black elf. I'm trying to think of a black character in general now, like any black character. That is really bad. Is there not a single black character in Lord of the Rings?
Here's the general consensus, right, on this issue, that from what online and that I agree with. It's a fantasy land. It's literally people are getting upset about the race of make-believe fictional characters. And as I always say, race, sexuality, male, female, it shouldn't matter. How many times do you see a role that's gender flipped these days? And as long as it's done well, it doesn't matter. The story is a story.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's just now that someone's made me think about it. It does. I feel like it's gone back to that point where with this show, it's sort of gone to a point where we're like, oh, we're just going to throw one black character in and have him be the black elf.
Well, you got Sadok.
I'm talking about elves, like the token black elf.
Yeah, but if you think in the film there was not one black character of note, and in the show we got 2 lead characters already.
That's an improvement, but I feel like we're at a point where there should be more still, but apparently not. I know we've already talked about the world building and the set design, but when we were introduced to new locations, such as the Dwarven Mines, such as Numenor for the first time, and you can see in Numenor the architectural influence that it's had on Gondor. Little moments like that. It's gorgeous to see how the architecture, how they thought about how the architecture will have influenced Middle Earth over the years, from these Numenorians being historically significant on the Middle Earth's history going forward. Anyway, they will be elements like that. I think it's brilliant, and how like you said, you can see the budget so beautifully in how crisp and depth of some of the new locations and the world building that they've created is honestly it's something you'd see in, like I said at the beginning, it's bringing cinema into your house.
Theo finding the cursed knife did make me think of Matt from the Wheel of Time. I was like, oh, Wheel of Time, riffing on something that isn't as good as this, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know where that's going to go. I'm interested to know what will happen with him, whether he'll become one of the ring wraiths or something along those lines. Because again,
could be.
When they start actually forming the rings, because if the show's called the Rings of Power, I'm assuming the rings are going to come into play at some point. That means that all of the men that were given the 9 rings. The 9 rings were given to the realms of men? Yeah, I think so. Who above all else desired power. That became the ring wraiths. They're going to be alive at this time period as well. Before they became ring wraiths. So that'll be interesting.
Also, we have to say, Galadriel jumping in the sea, not the smartest move. Good thing she was a good swimmer, by the looks of things. And then she basically spends most of episode 2 in the sea or floating on rafts. Got to mention the worm. I thought that was visually amazing and done really well. Because there was a shot of that in a trailer months ago, and I thought, oh, that doesn't look that great. But in the final episode, in the final version of the show we saw, it was great. And she is actually almost, ironically, kind of almost saved by Halbrand and a mysterious ship at the end of episode 2. I must say, from episode 2, my favourite line in the episode is Poppy turning to Norrin going, I don't speak Firefly. That was brilliant. Also, we can't not mention Bronwyn's fight against the orc that crawled out of the cellar. That was like something out of the Evil Dead, man. That was brilliant directing by J.A. Benoit there, because watching that, they made one single orc terrifying. Yeah. And also, you're hinting at the relationship between Arendor and Bronwyn. So, and they mention, only twice has a human-elf coupling been attempted, and it ended in death both times. So that's clearly something they've got to look forward to. Yeah, so getting on to episode 3, like you mentioned, Numenor looked absolutely stunning and just visually sumptuous, and it shows you, like we keep banging on about, the difference in budget between Lord of the Rings and House of the Dragon. And like I mentioned, it was really funny for me recognising certain exterior shots of New Zealand, and a lot of it is filmed around the mountains of Canterbury Plains, and definitely what looks like Milford Sound. What I like about episode 3 is it almost feels like a different show at the start with Numenor. You got a whole cast of new characters brought in. You got the Queen Regent, who seems like a bit of a dick. You get to learn more about Halbrand and how good he is at being a negotiator. Morfydd Clark, as in every episode, is absolutely brilliant. And you get Elendor and Isildur introduced. And of course, we know that Isildur is going to be a key character going forward as well. Although, having the whole sort of sea-based society did kind of remind me of Game of Thrones in the Ironborn in it. Obviously, these lot don't like to drown each other as much and generally seem a bit better mentally balanced. But it did feel like a different show in a way with all the new characters being introduced. Of course, then we swung back to the Southlands with our lovely map transitions because I was like, is the whole episode going to be on Numenor? Which I was fine with. But I was like, man, we're about half an hour in and we haven't seen it. And of course, at the end of episode 2, we found that Arendor got beaten up and took to an elf prison camp. Orcs and sunlight, David, quickly. I didn't remember that being a thing, but apparently orcs are like vampires.
I think
they
it was
can't go in the sun.
goblins that can't go in the sunlight, and orcs could, which is why you created the goblin-orc hybrid in Orcai, so that you could have people that run across in the sunlight and still be, I think.
Ah.
I'm not sure. Like I said, I think that was correct.
Your lore.
Yeah, my lore's not great.
I was going to say that I liked how smart Arendor came across when he was going to cut the tree down, but he used it to see above the tree line and get a good position of where they was. The one thing I didn't like in 3 was the slow motion horse ride shots. I get that it was to show that Galadriel was actually happy for a brief moment and smiling when she was on the horse, but I just thought the shots were too slow, didn't you? It's just something a bit off about them. Now, they were beautiful shots, but I was like, that's a bit... It feels like I'm watching the bank advert on TV with a horse in it.
Yeah, where she's smiling.
Yeah. I get the point of it. It was too slow.
She really was
slow.
Galadriel there.
That's terrible. You bark at that Shadow, you bark. He didn't deserve that. That was terrible.
Can you hear him? He's all the way downstairs.
Yeah. Back to the Half-Foots, and I didn't know that Marigold was Largo's second wife. Now, I've got a bit of a problem here with the Half-Foots. They leave someone behind who's injured. Couldn't they just put him in like a van and carry him?
They're like, they seem like this lovely human society place to live. They're the worst kind of human people.
Oh, sorry, he hurt his leg putting up a tent.
I think they're the villains of the piece, these Half-Foots.
Yeah, man. And also, though, I liked the bit where they were doing like the toast to all the people they'd lost. And in that bit, I was like, they do not seem to be very good at staying alive, because that was a lot of people that they read out that have died since the last migration. But even in that brief scene, it was an excellent way to show that Poppy's whole family was apparently killed in the landslide. And what I like, though, the show's getting more and more into, is a show about different races and people wanting to explore past their own lands. Like Isildur doesn't want to be stuck in Numenor the whole time. He wants to get off and explore the world. Nori, she wants to go and explore. And it was good, man. And also the big reveal that Halbrand is the king of the Southlands. But he doesn't like to mention it because it was his ancestors who worked with Morgoth. And so he's trying to stay away from that. But Galadriel's trying to, recruit him and say, no, you can help raise an army of men. So he's kind of like, do we think Halbrand is like related to
Aragorn?
Aragorn. Do we reckon he's descended from Aragorn?
No. Well, I don't know. So we've seen Isildur in it, and Aragorn's Isildur's heir, and so the gentleman, so Isildur and the Isildur's dad, the bloke that's helping out Galadriel, I've forgotten his name. He's a descendant of Aragorn. Aragorn's a descendant of them. Sorry. So I don't know because he does. I don't know how they're going to work it. They might end up working it as him. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. That is an interesting mystery.
Well, that's what I like with the show. There's lots of interesting mysteries in it. Also, I love the warg scene. The warg's got to eat. I love that woman ran at it and just absolutely got eaten to shit straight away. I was like, holy shit, man. And then the warg took out someone else. I was like, okay. And then, of course, every episode that he's in, Arendor gets a cool slow motion elf action shot. So he's clearly being positioned as the new Orlando Bloom, isn't he? He's definitely...
Yeah.
He's a very good-looking man as well. So clearly, that's the appeal, and he can throw stuff.
When he was doing his bow shoots like at people through the forest before they couldn't get into the sunlight, there's just the movement of his cheeks as he was firing those. But I was just like, oh, that's pretty cool.
And of course, episode 3 ends with "Who is Adir," which we didn't have to wait for long because we found out in episode 4, "The Great Wave," which starts with that amazing shot of the Queen Regent's nightmare. And we kind of knew it's a nightmare because that's what she's worried about when the white leaves fall from the trees and. Just even Galadriel turning up is a start of their destruction in the histories that she knows. And we find out that Adar was actually an evil elf who's been corrupted or gone off to join the orcs or whatever. But essentially, he's a bad guy.
Well, I think all orcs used to be elves at some point.
Really? I did not know that.
So. I think. Okay, I might be making a lot of this up, but I swear that's mentioned in the Lord of the Rings film.
Say that also, I thought so far episode 3 was probably one of the best ones. Episode 4, I was getting a little bit bored.
The plot has slowed down a lot. They need to pick
like,
up the plot again.
In episode 4, I was just like, it's not as good as 3. Like, it's perfectly fine. Of course, then we got over to the dwarves, and I was like, yep, the old mine, Mithril. They found some Mithril. That's definitely going to be a thing.
Yeah, because Mithril ended up being an elvish tool for, and not a dwarvish thing. So that's probably where the hatred for each other is going to fester.
The schism's going to come.
Yeah.
So basically, Elrond is basically going to screw him over, isn't he? Or some other elf is going to screw him over.
Yeah, see what happens there. Watch this space.
Bearing in mind every conversation, like Durin's just like, you better not screw me over, elf. And clearly he's going to. I like the fact that Durin always seems to be in a bad mood, and clearly him and Elrond both have inferior son complex, which was nice. I also liked how you had the nice cut from the scene of you had like the choral music come in, and then it came into the actual scene because it was Disa singing in a cave to get the rocks to do what they want. I love a bit of good old cave singing in it, so that was cool, man. I love the dynamic between Galadriel and Halbrand, and at the minute, Elendil is giving me Jorah Mormont vibes as well. You know, he's he's like, no, Mike, and like, you know, because he was one of the supporters of the Elves, so that was kind of cool. So like, you know, it's funny how much Game of Thrones has cribbed from Lord of the Rings, and then how much now this show is using the iconography and classic races of Game of Thrones, and, you know, setups and characters, types, archetypes even, for Lord of the Rings. So it's what I like about it is it's taking the best of both worlds and mixing it together in the show. However, I will say at this point, Galadriel has literally spent the whole season just trying to get back to Middle Earth after going for a swim at the end of episode 1. So she is clearly really not good at her job as being a commander for an elf army. Like literally episode 1, her army leave her because she disobeys orders. Then she jumps in, you know, she's ended up on the other side of the bloody world to a land that they've never been to. And I was surprised that at the end of 4, Halbrand stays. And then you had the twist that Numenor is actually going to help them. So I love that little...
Yeah, well, the tree starts crying, doesn't it? And then they're like, oh shit, the tree's crying. We need to... we're fucked up. We need to bring her back.
I love... They have the bit when he's like, who will come with me? And I was like, it's like you have my axe and my bow bit when he's like, I will serve. It was like kind of a callback to that in a way, which I liked. But as we come to the midway point of the show, David, we still have a lot of mysteries. Who is Meteor Man? And we've still not seen the Eminem lookalike from the trailers.
No, we haven't. Yeah, we haven't seen Eminem yet.
I think we're led to believe he is Sauron. But yeah, I'm still not sure on it, man. I will say so. My kind of final thoughts as we get to the halfway point of the season is visually it is amazing. Like breathtaking cinematography and direction, and it's just as good, if not better in some places, than the original films for me. Every frame drips that sweet Jeff Bezos Amazon money, but in a good way. Because I've not watched the original films for at least probably a decade, and read the books even longer than that, there are many little things that I've forgotten about the stories in Middle-earth, and the show's really good at just like drip feeding you little Easter eggs here and there, and it also does a great job of keeping the show accessible to the widest possible audience the show needs. As I say, episode 3 did surprise me with the introduction of Numenor and how many new characters and plot points are brought in. And the same with the developments with the orcs and learning about Adir. Well, and learning he exists, but not much more than that. Other than that, he frees Arendor to tell the people of the Southland to flee or swell fealty to their impending invasion force. As I say, we still don't know who the Meteorite Man is. Is it Sauron? Is it Gandalf? A fallen angel of some type? But overall, I've really enjoyed this show, much more than I thought. It's had genuine humour in it with the Harfoots and Durin and Elrond's bickering. And at this point, I will say it is funnier, it has more humour to it than House of the Dragon. But as I mentioned, I think where the show succeeds is in making it not too dense and appealing for the largest audience it can. It's going to be interesting to hear what the viewing figures are in the battle for the TV fantasy crown, this or House of the Dragon.
Well, this has smashed it straight off the bat, didn't it? It broke Amazon records immediately.
Well, that's good. I mean, before that, it was The Boys, which I love The Boys, but The Boys, I wouldn't say is a massive worldwide smash and have the reach of fandom that Lord of the Rings
But the
had.
House of the Dragon smashed it as well. The second that came in their first record-breaking stuff for HBO, I think. So
And I know at certain points I've compared the two of them, but just enjoy both.
it's
man.
too
There's,
early.
like-
Yeah, it's too early to make comparisons, and even it's not necessary either. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think Lord of the Rings is a massive, expansive story that is really big, and I feel that what House of the Dragon's done is it has a much narrower focus. It's all on the Targaryen families and slowly bringing in the other sort of contenders for the crown and that. But it's a much more laser focused, and I would argue that House of the Dragon has cast better actors and better performances, whereas Lord of the Rings has gone for the cinematography and the cinematography and but I mean, even in this, the cast were
I
brilliant.
think both of them at the moment have got that balance between spectacle and substance.
Exactly, yeah.
Like on the money.
Obviously, both of these shows are going to be high on our end of year lists, but how high I think will be dependent on how well they both stick the landings. We already know that season 2 of The Rings of Power is filming right now, and they have a 5-season arc planned out for the show, and it does sound promising that we're going to get all 5 seasons. There was a quote from an Empire magazine interview with showrunner J.D. Payne, and he said, "We even know what our final shot of the last episode is going to be. The rights that Amazon bought were for a 50-hour show. They knew from the beginning that that was the size of the canvas. This was a big story with a clear beginning, middle and end. There are things in the first season that still will not pay off until season 5. Well, with that kind of confidence behind them, I can't wait to see where this show goes next." And that's all for this week's episode of We Needed Roads. Remember, if you do want to do a promo swap with us here, we play a promo for your podcast and ours, and vice versa, drop us a DM on Twitter, and we'll send you over our promo to play on yours, just like the great folks over at Octoberpod. Also, if you enjoy the podcast, it's always helpful to leave a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. See you next time.
It's nice to be nice. Promo swaps.
Promo swap!
Okay, I'm done.
We Needed Roads.